This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On Air.
Hello folks, weaving beetles, time waits for no man, or no one, I guess, depending on how you've moved with the times there. Do we exist in time, or does time exist in us? Welcome to the OI podcast, the Otago Institute podcast, conversations with experts from the worlds of arts, sciences and Mataranga Māori. Brought to you by the Otago Institute, the Otago branch of the Royal Society for Arts and Sciences. Kia ora, nau mai, haere mai and welcome. For those of you new to the OI podcast, I'm Dr. Barb, a quantitative ecologist with a background in modelling, climate change, biodiversity, conservation prioritisation and SciComm, with a PhD in botany from Otako Whakaihu Waka, the University of Otago. Today's show, episode 134, we are talking about weaving with Christine Keller, a German-New Zealand master weaver, an award-winning designer and textile artist. Christine holds a Master of Fine Art from Concordia University, Montreal, obviously in Canada, from 2004, a diploma design in textile design from, and let me see if I can get this right, Gesamthochschule Kassel.
Gesamthochschule Kassel.
Gesamthochschule Kassel. I should try and get that right because there are a few German-speaking listeners out there. Now, that's equivalent to a master's here in New Zealand.
Yes.
And that was way back in 1993. So we're going in reverse order in your CV here. And also an apprenticeship is what started it all off in Loom Weaving in Hamburg, where you were awarded the best new hand weaver in Germany in 1987.
Yes. Man, can you believe it?
Can you believe it? Man, time does fly. See, it's all about time.
41 years I started weaving.
Wow. Man, you must have
I'm
been
that old.
No, you were a spring chicken back then, way back. Now I've got kind of a bigger blurb here about you, with you, and it sort of talks about. Sorry, I should just start off by. Sorry, I always just jump in. I just want to get right into the discussion, but first. And I'm constantly trying to be kicked under the table by various folks to remind me to say welcome to the studio, Christine. Thank you very much for coming along today.
Thanks for having me. So just let me correct the name slightly. Keller, Christine Keller.
Keller. What did I say?
Keller.
Oh, did I? Oh, sorry.
Never mind.
Keller. No, I was looking at Keller and thinking Keller. Honestly, I've been listening to another podcast. That's The Rest is Entertainment, and they were talking about Friends. I can't believe that. It was some sort of a ranking thing. Anyway, I couldn't believe that Friends won for the US sitcom. To me, it just seems like it's very dated, Friends, and that's probably going to be controversial because they did win the thing. Anyway, beside the point, Christine Keller.
Yes. And weaving a lot and not owning a TV, so I'm not sure if I've ever seen Friends.
Well, you haven't missed a whole lot.
Thanks, God, yes.
You'll be fine there.
Oh, thanks, whoever.
Yeah. No, it's all good. Hey, weaving, though. Did you always want to be a weaver when you were a kid? How did you come to, you did that apprenticeship?
I was
scrolling all the back.
I was a very young high school graduate, and I was a bit helpless of what to do. And I was thinking of studying math, but I didn't know... Math, yes. But I didn't know what that was used for. And so I studied social work, working with the disabled, and stopped that after 4 weeks. That's what all my friends did somehow. And I think some mother of a friend said, I know somebody who is a weaver and they're looking for an apprentice. And I just thought, I'm young, and when I finished, I will be 21, and I can still do something completely different. And then I thought, I've already invested all that time. Let me stick with it. So I stuck with textiles for 41 years.
It's funny, isn't it?
I always did colors, and I always did very fine fiddly things.
Right. Yes. So it was sort of colours that drew you in?
Yes, and knitting and all that stuff. As a 14-year-old, we did we prepared for confirmation, we had to go to church every Sunday. And I did not understand why I couldn't take my knitting into church, because I thought it doesn't make any noise, it wouldn't disturb anybody.
And they didn't like it?
No, I wasn't allowed to do it.
Interesting.
But I knitted about a jersey a week at that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you started off with knitting. But Germany has quite a long kind of tradition of apprenticeships. And
yes, 153, I think, professions that we learn with apprenticeships.
Wow. And it's much more structured, I think, than what we hear. Like, everybody knows about apprenticeships in Germany. It's kind of a very... I think normal thing for people to decide to go into apprenticeship of a trade of some sort.
It was unpopular for a while, and people thought they have to go to universities. And I think today we start to wake up and think the people who just become carpenters or plumbers or electricians, they might have the jobs, because we still.
I think there's a place for both, but maybe some things that are trades where it's kind of a long process of learning the skill, and it's very hands-on.
In our system, we need to work either 2 years full-time if you had high school and you have good results, or an apprenticeship is 3 years for people without high school diploma.
Right. So when you say, like, it's an apprenticeship, so is it always like you're working, like it's not at that point... You were working what do they call them, a process weaver. So you're sort of...
I have a production weaver.
A production weaver, sorry.
Yes.
So you're weaving things to be sold. It's a very commercial...
Yes, I had a master, and like my weaving master, my teacher, she was almost 70 when I started, very small, like short woman who wouldn't look into your eye, and she learned weaving when she was 16. There were 2 apprentices and 2 journeymen in that workshop, and we worked from 7:30 until 4:30. And if you arrived at 7:32 for 2 or 3 days in a row, she said, look a bit at the time, right? Like we had 15 minutes for breakfast and 15 minutes for afternoon tea and half an hour for lunch, and not 17 minutes or something. It was very structured.
Wow.
And then
were you paid for the apprenticeship?
I was paid $120 a month.
Right.
Which was 120 New Zealand a month kind of thing. And in my 3rd year, which was like I did it in 2 years, so I progressed from the first into the 3rd year. I got $200 a month.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. I think I had...
And was that sort of a livable wage at the time?
No, absolutely not.
So did you live in a residence?
I still lived at home.
Right.
And then I moved out, and we have this thing that's a bit like a student loan, but if your parents earn too much, then, and there is this middle gap where parents maybe don't earn that much, but the parents are expected to be responsible for their children until the children are 26 years old.
Right.
So I got like about 700 or so from my parents every month.
Right.
And it's like, I was so surprised to learn here that young people pay rent to their parents or something. It's like in Germany was the other way around. Like your children moved out and your parents still gave you like 500 or $1,000 a month because you needed to live off something. And the concept of studying and then working at the same time as a full-time thing, that was not considered anything valid because you were supposed to full-time study.
Right,
and you were maybe supposed to have a job for 10 or 15 hours a week, but nothing like here.
Yeah, no, and to be fair, that's a relatively recent thing here in that when I shouldn't say relatively recent. When I first started at university back in 1995, they were just bringing in fees, and they were then they brought in student loans, and they stopped having the student allowance that was for everyone, and so that sort of time there in the mid to late 90s was where it kind of went to you had to have a job to sustain yourself. Yeah, because before that, there was sort of a student allowance that you had, But yeah, interesting. What I'm kind of thinking is, what sort of things were you producing then, and what sort of split was it between you were working, you were doing what your master or the journeyman presumably were telling you, just do this, and you were just kind of working to kind of get used to doing the mechanism of it, the skill of the trade as it was, and what part was kind of your artistic input into it?
So we worked 40 hours a week, and every half year you had once for 3 weeks and once for 4 weeks school, and you had whatever, physical education and language and weaving and structure and art and stuff like that, art history. So 7 weeks per half semester. And then you were supposed to have so many samples at the end of your apprenticeship, and they had to be done outside your work hours.
Right.
So it was 100% in the studio, was 100% for the weaving master. And I have a colleague, Andreas Möller, who's also in Germany quite a famous innovator for weaving. And he was the best weaver the year after me. And he was in a workshop where they did towels for the sauna and mohair blankets.
Wow.
The whole time. And my master, she did carpets from wool. We did fabrics for church. We did curtains. We worked with linen. And we did historic fabrics for sartorial dress that dance groups were wearing. And there were some...
What is sartorial dress?
Like the traditional dress, like whatever. The Austrians have the dirndls and whatever. So those historic dresses that the women from the region were wearing. And we made the fabrics for the skirts and the aprons. And we made the ribbons for the hats. And they were made with the ribbons were made with silk, gold and silver and wool.
Wow, so really fine materials.
Really fine, but then the wool carpets were really rough. And I remember one thing that I thought was cool. It was like knotting, what you would do knotting carpet, but it was just black and it was quite rough. And it was just a band that was maybe 10 centimeter long and then 10 centimeter wide and then maybe 1.20 meters or so long. And we had triangular hats like those, like they had in the Napoleon thing. And
you were wearing?
No, they were the sartorial hats for the coffin bearers of Hamburg, the state of Hamburg. And it was so interesting because they were... like these things were the edge of those triangles, and it looked a little bit like when you had a sheepskin that you put around your steering wheel of your car or something.
Wow.
That's how it looked like. But we did hand weave it. And the circle closed for me when I was 2 years ago in Hamburg, and my uncle died at 93 years old, and I was officiating the funeral, and there they were.
Wow.
With their hats.
With the hats that you, when you were a kid, were weaving.
I was weaving, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, that is quite an amazing circle, isn't it?
Yes. And so that would have been almost like the guild of pallbearers or something.
Yeah.
Like it's not common. Like the whole funeral thing was not in the family hand. We don't get the ashes. We can't do that. We can't bury people outside of a cemetery. So the body is with the funeral home. And then you can only bury an urn in a cemetery, or you can have a coffin, and you don't carry the coffin with your family or so. It's like they carry it for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so
again, formal.
But quite a specialized piece of weaving, right? Like there can't be that many people. I imagine she was like your master was the person who did that.
Guess so,
and then, she was old at the time, so presumably she's passed on.
Yes.
And that knowledge, though, was passed on to one of the journeymen?
I mean, we know how to do it. It's basically like, it's basically rug knotting.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what they do now?
Who knows? It's interesting, though, isn't it? But it's kind of that kind of, I mean, at one time in our history, all weaving was done hand loom, right? All weaving was like rigid heddle weaving.
No, not rigid heddle. That is actually very...
Is that new?
No, rigid heddle is very simple and it doesn't make sense for production because it's
I was thinking like the original type of weaving would be the most simple.
Weighted, warp weighted looms. They had stones at the bottom and stuff. So I don't think that the rigid heddle, that was maybe for bands, but different subject.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking like the evolution of weaving. Like you can get really quite simple looms, and then really quite complicated looms, which I guess we'll come to a bit later in the show when we talk about your.
But I think everything was hand woven at some point, and on different levels of complexity, and it goes back a few thousand years.
Yeah,
and I think that the Chinese were probably the ones that did this very complex weaving the longest time ago. It's in different cultures, but this thing of those very fine, I move every thread. And at the moment, it's like, I would say the internet have brought the rigid heddle loom into the attention of everybody. I'm not so keen on that because I think it's maybe a good starter thing, but I would start at a different level because I think I'm a bit critical to the thing that they give somebody a rigid heddle loom and then everybody thinks they are a weaver. Because there is so much more to weaving, and a weaver would probably never use a rigid heddle loom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it takes way too much time.
It is very slow. It's true. Yeah. It's very slow.
And everybody who has used other looms would not really go back to rigid heddle loom, I think.
It seems, it's a price point thing as well because it is cheaper to get a rigid heddle loom than...
Not necessarily. The rigid heddle looms that you buy new today, this is probably very unpopular for some people, but I believe that internet is marketing us lots of things that we don't necessarily need, and there are so many looms around that like almost every week somebody offers me a loom for free.
Really? So when you say you mean the Loom Room?
The Loom Room. So one of my inventions of Christine Keller is that she is the inventor of the initiator, I say, of the Loom Room.
And this is all the way back to 2013. And I thought we might just take a little break now and just think about the Loom Room. So it's up there in Northeast Valley and it's kind of open. You do quite a few courses every week with students and it's kind of an easy way, would you say, of getting into weaving?
It is a way to get into weaving. So we have the spinners and weavers or what used to be the Woolcrafter Society or the how's that called? I guess it's the Dunedin. No, I'm missing that at the moment. I will get back. It will pop up again. But however, all those weaving groups, like we have one at the Gasbergs Museum in Dunedin and one in Tyree. And the Creative Fiber, they're called Creative Fiber Incorporated. And that's more the approach that some people know more than others, and you come along to a group and you share your knowledge. And what I'm doing is like I have learned it in depth and I'm giving classes. I have 4 classes a week and have been doing that since 12 or 13 years
and quite small size classes, like 7, 8 people.
Yeah, 7 or 8 people, which is what the room can hold. And you sign up for a block of 8 weeks, and then you decide if you want to do another block. And the people who are already in the classes have first pick. So when you're in, you have a better chance to be in because there is a waiting list.
Yeah. So then you can sort of continue what you're doing. And do most people finish something within that time frame?
So in the first time frame, like you can make a scarf.
Right.
And it is we meet 3 hours a week. And if you're very enthusiastic and you want to weave between classes, you can do more and you can do maybe 2 scarves or something. But at first it's kind of to learn the terminology and to learn to use a loom. Loom weaving is simple and complicated. It can be as complicated as you want.
I love all the terms for everything, and it just makes me think how important and how big the industry was and how everyday it was, because there's so many terms for very specific parts and everything that I guess kind of like at one time every second family had a weaver at home.
Yeah, I think that people that lived on the farm, for example, they would work outside in the summer and then in the winter they would weave. And I mean, if they had some linen or they had some sheep or something, then they would kind of have their flax retted, and then they would spin the yarn first, and then they would weave it. And that's what I tell my students when they have mistakes in their weaving, and they worry about it. I say, if you look at historic textiles, people were doing stuff for their everyday stuff. And so they were working as well as they had time for it. I have this book where in North America, they made these lengths of cloth that were, I think, about 1.30 meter by 5 meter. They were very fine. They got the best spinner in the family, the best wool, and they wove it very fine. And that would be the coat for a man, and that would be the coat for life. Like you were expected to have that. So that would be wrapped around, maybe worn with a high hat. And so fabric was much more valuable when you just didn't buy all that stuff. Like today I go into a weaving company that has 400 looms. They work around the clock. They are closed 7 days out of 365 days a year. And they weave 500,000 yards of fabric per week.
Yeah. No, it's crazy amounts.
And it is totally crazy because suddenly it's like curtains and stuff. Suddenly you need curtains for the summer and for the autumn and for the winter. So
I've never changed my curtains by the season.
Yes, but in a way that's a point I'm trying to make. Nobody needs that.
Yeah.
Nobody needs that stuff. And so basically, I try to teach people to work together in a group, because I think collaboration is the word of our times that we need. And the other thing is to kind of value the textiles we are having and rather go for really durable things, natural materials that can also disintegrate at the end of their cycle, rather than the plastic stuff that stays around.
And do you find that people are weaving their piece, whatever it is, with an end garment or use in mind, or are they just weaving something because it's pretty, or to learn the technique, or do you get a feel for how many people turn what they've woven into a garment?
Like garments are not the main thing because my looms are not so big, and so you have
Look, I was lucky enough, listeners, to go into the Loom Room, and it is amazing. There are so many looms in there. Some of them have got work from people who are obviously working on them, and there's some massive floor looms there, and then a lot with the 4 treadles around the wall.
4 harness or 4 shafts.
4 shafts, that's what they're called, yeah.
And 8 shafts.
And there were some rigid heddle looms there.
I have rigid heddle looms. It's just not my favorite.
Yeah, but like literally like ceiling to floor with shelves with looms on them, and every little corner seems to have a stockpile of different kind of fibre thread on different cones everywhere. So just looking around, it was absolutely fantastic, the Loom Room there.
Yeah, I stopped counting at 70 when I had the looms.
Yes.
So I think I'm constantly trying to sell some off because I constantly get new ones. And
is there a competition amongst students for some particular looms? Or some too big and scary?
There is some looms that people like, for example, some 80 centimeter 8 shaft loom, because you can weave a double cloth, so they can weave double width and they can weave a full size blanket. And I only have one loom that is 80 centimeter wide and can do that from the table loom kind of. I have table looms and I have floor looms. Nobody wants to weave in the winter out in the back because it's cold. I have patio heaters, but it's not so nice out there. So over the winter, you want to be on a table loom. And so, I mean, if you say competition, the thing is that the people who are in the group, they know that it's a give and take, and that you have that loom for a project, and you might want to do another project, but if somebody else is waiting for that same loom, it's their turn first.
It's a poor choice of words there, probably more like
but there is always
demand for some.
There is so many different projects you could do. So people, coming back to your question before, people do things that are good for something mostly. So we do a lot of tea towels, and you think like, oh my God, hand-woven tea towel, way too precious. But It's a piece of cloth that we hold in our hands and we use it and we have a connection to. If you give it as a gift, you have something meaningful. And they actually even dry the dishes better than lots of the commercial ones that are printed. Yeah,
I am guilty of that, thinking that, home, like a hand-woven cloth, or even like nice, like on occasion people have given me like a nice tea towel, like a linen woven nice one from somewhere, and
you're not using it?
And I haven't used it because it seems too nice.
And where is it?
It's just in a drawer. It's ridiculous.
You see, and
like
so
I know in myself that it's ridiculous.
It's in your drawer and you don't see it and you don't get any pleasure from it.
I know,
so
it's crazy.
Even if it gets the odd stainer, so it doesn't matter. Linen tea towels get better by washing them more often, so you don't even have started to deliver the potential of that towel. What a waste.
I know, it's
so
crazy.
Get over it.
I know in myself that it's ridiculous. I know. But what I have started doing is I have started knitting dishcloths and giving them, and I probably started that 5 or 6 years ago, and giving them to friends and family because they're quite an easy Christmas present.
Do they dry well enough?
They do. Oh, yeah.
For function? I think they are.
No, they're washing cloths.
Yes, I know, but they get so wet. And then they get they
dry fine. Yeah. No cotton ones.
I like mine finer than for me they are.
But for washing
thick.
ones, not for drying.
Yeah, for washing.
Yeah.
Because they get wet, really wet all the time, and they need to dry to not develop mold in them.
Oh, I've never had any complaints about mold. It's just like a face cloth.
Yeah, I wouldn't have it that thick.
Oh, right.
But
you're a weaver, though.
Again, yes, sorry. Yes. I have the nicest face cloth that Stella Lang from the fashion school wove for me one day. So I like my cloth a little bit thinner. But really this, if we don't enjoy those beautiful fabrics we have around, then we have nothing from them.
Yeah, no, it's true.
So if they just lie in the cupboard, think about that.
Yes. No, I will go through my tea towel cupboard and throw out all the ones that are manky and...
Why do you throw them out?
Well, because I've got far too many tea towels, and I just use the ones that I bought as a student that are like commercial ones that aren't nice. And I have nice ones. I should use the nice ones. And the other one, well, when I say throw out, I mean put in the rag bin.
Yes.
I honestly
sew them in layers as beautiful washcloth. Anyway,
let's go. Anyway, so the Loom Room is quite fabulous, and I think there's no spaces at the moment. Are you saying there's a waiting list there?
If people are interested in joining, find my website, christinekeller.co.nz. If you do Christine Keller and textiles, you find it.
Yeah. And I will put the link in the episode description.
Or Dunedin's Loom Room, and then you tell me that you would like to do classes, and then you will get... I will send you a Google form, and then you're on the right spot. Your name is in the right spot when I have spaces, and then I will contact you.
Interesting.
But yeah, the thing is that I think that for me, the Loom Room was really important to create a community.
Right.
Because for me, the working together is really important. And I also make clear from the beginning that it's not for you to weave as much as possible in that time. You can come out of class time, you can weave, take the loom home and weave more. But it's like learning together.
Right.
So sometimes there are steps that are better done with two people.
So I say warping is just really quite trying doing it by yourself, especially the first time.
Yeah, but there are steps that I love to teach with two people, but they are also possible alone.
I'm sure everything's possible.
Yes.
Hey, what we really want to get on to is your latest piece, which is a collaboration with entomologist Conal McLean from the Art Plus Science exhibition. For those not familiar with the Art Plus Science exhibition, it's an annual exhibition that brings together artists and scientists. And this year's theme, Once Around Time, exploring the many ways time is sensed, measured and recorded in emotion and memory, in air, earth and living tissue, in cause, dating, dendrology, light and space-time. And together these works consider how we live within time and how time lives within us. And I think there are I can't remember. Pam McKinley is the coordinator, and she told me how many pairs
Over
there
30.
are. Oh, yeah. So there's lots. And what is really cool is that this year, and possibly other years as well, but this year there are various occasions for guided floor talks as well as the creative events. So you can just go to that Art Plus Science Facebook page, and again, I'll put the link down below in the episode description. And they've also got a kind of collaboration with the Science Festival. So they have an art and science question and answer panel on the 15th of July, which is Wednesday night. And I'll put the program for that down in the episode description. And then they have the Art Plus Science Meet the Scientists evening is on Thursday, the 16th of July. And I believe the artists will probably be there as well.
Yeah, some of them at least. I mean, if it's all the artists and all the scientists are there,
it's a lot of people. There's no space.
There's only 70 places. So for the Thursday night, I'm pretty sure you have to reserve a space on Humantix.
Yeah, there's tickets there.
There is no costs, but get in there and get a ticket if you want to come on the Thursday night.
Yeah, I think they have what was it called? Pay what you like or something. So they have kind of a nominate for one of the events. I can't remember which one. Anyway, basically,
you can always donate to the project because I'm sure that the costs are always higher. So you can always leave money there. But the event itself is not for money, but you need a ticket to come in on the Thursday night. Otherwise, we are open from 10 to 5, Monday to Friday. So this time, because of a glitch with the Science Festival, there is no opening on the weekend.
Ah, okay.
So you have to come Monday to Friday, come in your lunch hour, take a day holiday to come to us.
And it's fabulous because it's all sorts of different artists. So artists using all sorts of different media, but also all sorts of different scientists. Yes. So there's entomologists and there's physicists and microbiologists and geologists.
Yes, we do it's actually not exactly every year, but I think the last one was 2 years ago. But however, we have a speed dating. So everybody gives you a 3 minutes elevator pitch. The scientists do and the artists do. And then the artists have the initiative to contact the scientists because I guess as an artist, you have to have an idea of what you want to work on.
Right.
And so you contact a scientist and say, I'm interested in that part of your research. And I did that with Connell because I have at home this Easter egg my father painted for me, and it has painted little beetles on it. And
did he hand paint those beetles?
He hand painted the beetles when I was a child, and they Barbara has seen the egg, you must know. But so basically, I took the drawings off, and for a very long time, I wanted to make a fabric that is a richly woven fabric with those beetles as motifs.
Right.
And I'm going to start with the loom now a little bit. So I was amazingly lucky to acquire one of those most modern Norwegian hand looms in the world. They are called TC2 loom, and they can move every thread individually, which just means for the non-weavers, I can weave images as much as I want. And I still have to learn so much to do that properly. However,
sorry, I'm just going to stop you there and say it is really amazing, folks. Now, I am going to put some pictures up on the Facebook page for the Otago Institute Arts and Sciences page. Now, what I did was I went to Christine's studio, her home studio, where she has this amazing machine, and it's amazing. It's so clean lined and so smooth, and it's so quiet. Like, it's not like when you see YouTube videos of the Harrison Tweed kind of weaving with the big clackety clack machines, because it's got this kind of ear blowing business.
Yeah, it's done with vacuum air, so it is sucking the threads up or not, and that's how I get the pictures. And so I have the Otepoti TC2 Loom Lab in my
TC2 Loom Lab, yes. Anyway, it's a fantastic little room, and at the moment you have got your piece that's for this Art Plus Science exhibition on it with these beautiful beetles. And I wondered if you could just explain to people the way that came about.
So Connell McLean, he had this, he introduced us to different projects, and one project is the windscreen phenomenon. And the windscreen phenomenon, those of us who are a bit older than 30 or 40 years, we will remember that we did road trips, and at the end of the road trip, the car was covered in bugs. You had all these bugs gluing to your windscreen. And I have to think about it now. We buy these liquids to spray on so that you don't have bugs, but I have to tell you, there are no bugs because there are no bugs, you know. So
much fewer.
Much fewer bugs. And so the thing is that Connell gave me numbers of how many bugs are today in the world. And so basically the windscreen phenomenon is a project. It's a kind of public science project where you can get a sticky piece in a kit that you stick to the outside of your car, and then you drive a distance and you record what the weather was and which day you were driving from where to where. Whatever.
It's kind of a systematic way of the public getting an idea of how many bugs are out there on the roads.
And then you send this sticky thing in to, I don't know where, I think it's in Auckland. I haven't done it, I have to admit. But you send that in, and the scientists, they will analyze how many bugs were out there and how many bugs are now stuck to your screen.
And we're using bugs here in a very vernacular way.
Yes, so
we're looking at all insects, really.
We're looking at all insects. And I showed my piece 2 days ago to Connell. He was smitten. That was great.
Ah, nice.
And I asked him, what do your numbers relate to? And he said they relate to the biodiversity as much as the biomass. And they are not absolutely exact numbers, but they are a tendency that he said the international science community agrees on.
Right.
And I said, how far should we go back? I wove a timeline, and I started with 100 bugs, and I went as far back as 1700.
Right.
And I put 100 bugs on a specific size of my fabric. And if you imagine you have you will walk past the gallery wall, and it's 3 meters, the timeline, which will bring you from 1700 to the present. And then it will say whatever, at 1850 we had 82 out of 100 bugs.
Right. So it's kind of making the total amount, which is unknown, but the proportion of the bugs that have gone extinct over time. And I really loved how you captured the idea of the proportion that had gone extinct by still having the bugs there.
So what I did is the fabric has a background color that happens to be yellow for several
I would say golden.
reasons.
To me, it looks like it's golden.
It's golden. It's a beautiful golden fabric with all these beetles that are just the beetles that I took are those drawings of those 5 or 6 species that my father drew on that thing when I was a child. So I used them, made this pretty pattern, and then when I had to remove bugs because the number went down, I left the outline of that bug and just gave it a neutral weave structure. So it's like this grayish, whitish color on the yellow. And the colors, the numbers go down, and you can see I changed colors a few times, so there's a few stripes in there. And one stripe happens to be around the French Revolution, one happens around when the steam engine kicked in, and one is around when Nazi Germany kicked in and the second big war started.
But when you say you changed the colours, so you've gone for a slightly different shade of blue or a slightly different shade
of gold. So I had gold, blue and red, and the other threads that I have is black and white. And I'm trying to create all these shades of colors I need for my drawings. And I created the drawings on the computer. And you want a limited number of colors because every color is a different weave structure, a different shade.
I'm just going to interrupt Christine again there, because when you say a limited number of colors, folks, if you see, and you should go along to the Art Plus Science exhibition and see this piece, it looks anything but a limited number of colours. It's absolutely fabulous. And the beetles are just all colours, and they're shaded. Like, you can see the shading on the side of the beetle, so it looks three-dimensional. And the amazing thing about it is I would have absolutely sworn, like on oath, that some of the beetles were orange. And folks, there is no orange thread in that piece at all. It's absolutely amazing. So all the warp threads, all the ones going long ways through the whole thing, are black and white in different frequencies across the width of the fabric. And the threads that Christine is shooting across in the bobbins, I'm using that right, isn't I? Shuttles inside, bobbins inside shuttles, which is amazing because it's so fast and it just goes. Anyway, when Christine did some weaving for me there, so she's really just shooting across the blue, red, and we'll call it yellow, threads that go across and then shooting them back. And you can see the thread is red, yellow, and blue in the bobbin, but then you look at the material that Christine has woven and the background is golden and some of the bugs are orange, and you really have, like, what I had to do was take a photo and zoom in as much as I could on my iPhone and see the individual threads to, like, convince myself that really there were just yellow, blue and red threads going acrossways and white and black going up and down. And I think, to me, that's the most amazing part of this artwork that you've made, is this array of colours that you've drawn out of the basic colours.
No, thank you. For me, that was really cool too, because I'm relatively new to the loom. So I learned the technique before I came to New Zealand in 2005. I learned it in Canada. And then I lost access to the technique by coming here. And 3 years ago, I was asking heavens up there and said, will Christine Keller have time in her life to have access to this technique? And believe it or not, a month later, I got an email and saying the AUT in Auckland is selling their TC2 loom. There's 3 looms of this technology in the country, and 2 were with universities, and AUT, because of COVID and stuff, couldn't get it into their classes, and they had a restructuring. And the manufacturer, who I've known since the 1990s, she said, "Are you interested?" They asked me if I know anybody who wants to buy it, and I bought this loom secondhand. And we're talking a few tens of thousands of dollars, so we're talking like. And I'm a relatively money poor artist, and so for me, it was first quite it was a lot of.
I mean, it's sort of mortgage your house
crazy.
Type.
No, I did. Yeah, it was. I didn't do that. It's kind of like, don't ever get implants for your teeth or something. I'm probably gonna have lots of rice pudding when I'm older, but I will have done that for this loom. But the thing is really that. It was a dream come through, and it came to me at a time when I was ready to do this. So I'm learning all these color structure thing myself, and in this work, which is my second or third work on the loom, I have basically used one family of structures for this thing, and there is so many more family of structures I want to learn. And I could produce hundreds of colors with this weave structures, and I'm using really thin thread. So the weft threads, they are actually overlocking sewing thread.
Ah, right.
And they are not covering the black and white threads completely, and that's maybe why I'm hoping that when as you walk past, that you get this changing, flickering color effects when you walk past those beetles. Technically, there is 45 different weave structures in the piece, so it's really limited to 45 colors technically, but each of those colored weave structures is built up of lots of different colors, because there is, for example, a red thread going over the whites and not showing so much blacks, but a bit of blue and yellow are shining through below. And so
it sort of reminds me of pointillism.
Yes, it is a bit like, that's actually quite good. It could be like pointillism, but that's just my choice of weave structures. So it doesn't need to be like that. It's just this family of weave structures, which are, by the way, all based on a 111 satin over 5. Never mind, it's a bit showing off with numbers. But basically, all those weave structures are just of one family. I could have many, many more colors. And when I developed the weave structures, there was a moment when I thought, I would like this, but a little bit more red. And suddenly I'm really using my threads in this. On the computer, I'm just making black and white little pixel patterns, which for some magical reason will turn into these colors again. And that's in a way something I'm feeling very intrigued by, that I can do that. And my brain is understanding this. And I love to sit in front of the computer and look at those black and white dots and think, yes, that will have a little bit more of the red in it. And I'm really kind of mixing it like if I had a paintbrush and some acrylic paint or something. And
so it's like sort of starting acrylic painting with 5 colours. You've got the black and white threads going long ways and the red, yellow and blue threads going sideways.
And then I say I want a little bit of blue in it and maybe a bit of red, and I'm going to have this at a medium color. Like, for example, I could not weave a pure black with this or a pure yellow. Every color has automatically a little bit of something else in it.
Because it has to hold the threads in place.
Because it has to hold the threads in place. And because I used so thin threads that are not covering the space between the threads completely. And so I, like all my, in my original drawings, the bugs have black outlines, and I have bugs that are more reddish and bugs that are more bluish and stuff. And at one point I said, okay, let's use a blue black for the blue bug and a red black. So I had one black in there originally, and now I have 6 different shades of black in there. And that's a thing where I think in the artistic process, the fun for me begins to play with those things. And if you think of a little Christine Keller, age maybe 7 or 8, what I did is I would have we had our graph paper for our calculation classes. They were 5 millimeter squares, and I would have felt pens, and I would color fill them in symmetrical colors for hours and days and weeks. And that's what I did. And in a way, this is what I'm doing on the computer now, to then come to the output of the weaving structure. And I'm thinking in 3, 4, 5, 6 layers there. And that's something that I'm so thankful that I have that loom, because it's like, I don't know, like, but a scientist that is really interested in thinking creatively about what else is able and what else is possible in your field of research or expertise. And so for me, this is something where, and I'm not at a level where I could totally teach it, but I've learned from 2 of the big names in international jacquard weaving, and that is Louise Lemieux-Birubé from Montreal and Vibeke Vestby from Norway, from Hennefors. And basically I learned from both, and Louise once said to me she thought that I would be, out of all her students, I would be the one who would take on the teaching, because somehow I must have understood it differently than most people. And Vibeke said that in her whole time she had only 3 people that work in the systematic way like I do, and she is also one of those. So I'm not saying that to say how special I am, but it is a special way of thinking about this abstraction that then leads to those fabrics. That one reason I learned weaving is that I thought it's a dying art, and there must be some people that still understand how all that happens. And this was really a thing where I felt this is for me. And
it's really, to me, it's really interesting how it can be really simple. And then it can just get like this. You can just get slightly more complicated and then slightly more complicated. And I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm thinking that this TC2 loom is about as complicated as hand weaving gets, as complex rather, in that you've got so much control over the warp threads and their up and downs and the different structures that you can put in, and you're kind of programming that all into the computer. So you're thinking about it all ahead of time and planning it, and that's giving you the colours out of those basic colours. And of course you could use as many different coloured bobbins as you wanted, I suppose. You could have, 50 different bobbins lined up and have a different thing. But to me, it's so much cooler to use a very limited set of colours, but come up with the colours through that play of kind of how your eye sees them from a distance in a way.
Yeah, I mean, that's just really just one layer of subjects. But the thing, the scary thing for me of that loom is it's totally like it's a white sheet of paper. If I'm on a loom like I'm using with my students, we're deciding on a weave structure. We are setting up the loom so it can do that weave structure. And then if you want to do a completely different weave structure, you need to set up the loom again. So it's like you're limited to that, but you can also hold on to that. You have some things that are secure and safe and sorted. Yeah. With this TC2 loom, I could basically, what is sorted is the number of threads that I have there in density. At the moment, my threads are cotton and they are black and white. I can't just change that tomorrow.
But how many do you have there on the loom at the moment? Crosswise, you've got, did you say 1,900?
No, I have a 1,760 is the number of threads I can control. That is my maximum number I have. I did crowdfunding last year. Thank you to everybody who supported me on Boosted. We got $12,000 together so I could now weave this white piece. I'm dedicating the piece to everybody who supported me. So it is expensive money-wise to do it. But anyway, the thing is, it is absolutely like a white sheet all the time. I can do anything next. And I have brought a few samples. And
these are ones that I haven't seen, folks, and they are amazing.
There is one sample that is the one that I used for the fundraising, and it's a tree of life motif from my home area in Germany.
I'm just going to take a photo of it.
There is a unicorn in it, and the campaign was called I Just Wove a Unicorn. It's a Northern German motif. And this is, in the sample I brought, I used different shades of cotton sewing thread I had on my shelf. And it looks to me like a very Mediterranean scene somehow.
It does kind of aquas and teals and sort of a greeny blue tone to it.
And that is the easiest to weave thing you see here. So this is absolutely easy because it's only 2 weave structures and they are opposite.
Right.
And there's only 2 colors. So the design was just black and white, and I have 2 colors.
So I'm just going to explain this to folks. When Christine is saying there's 2 colors, there's lots of colors all the way through the fabric, but at any one line there's only 2 colours. So there's the gold thread that sort of runs the whole way. Probably is a better term than
warp. Yeah,
the warp. Yeah, so the warp thread, the longitudinal one, is all gold all the way through the fabric, and then in sort of blocks along the fabric, you've changed the weft, that horizontal thread, and gone sort of different colours of those teals and those blues. But at any one line, you're actually just using one thread.
Yes, the motif is just foreground and background.
Yeah. So on the computer, it's easy.
The foreground has one structure and the background has one structure.
Yeah.
And the other one is much more complicated because every color has the 3 wefts and 2 warps.
The beetle one.
The beetle one is like for every little color, I have the mix of 5 colors.
But once you've got this design like this, you could, in theory, just make it again in purples or make it again in orange. Exactly the same structure, but decide that you wanted to do it purple and gold, or look, you've done one there that's crimson and black and blue. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's beautiful, and it's really cute. The little I'm just going to take another photo of that, folks. The little unicorns there are really cute, and it's beautifully complex because it's got all the little bits in between, which I guess also serve a functional role of kind of keeping those long loops together. So it's quite a dense pattern on top of if that makes sense.
It's all satin. It's like, it's just as the warp on top or the warp on bottom. So, but basically it's the pattern that was in this historic design.
And do you sell these ones like this?
I could sell them. The thing is that I think that the artwork of Christine Keller has just become really expensive because the time that goes into this thing and the way what the loom costs and all that stuff, I'm past selling my work for a few $100 because I think that having a meter of warp on the loom without even having started weaving is already $200 per meter minimum.
Just for the time it takes to do it.
Just for the setting it up before I have woven anything and then all the design. So I think that these panels, these little panels that are maybe just like an A3 or so, that they kind of start at $1,000.
Yeah, but I mean, I also think that these are artworks. I wouldn't think of this as, I mean, you could use it for a cushion cover, obviously, if you wanted to use it as a cushion cover, but it's an artwork. Like it's an artwork that's useful. And I think that, if you were looking at buying art in a gallery, like painting art, like oil paintings, you would pay, easily. You can pay, $3,500. I mean, honestly, art you can pay for. Yes, you can pay whatever you like.
And basically, that is the same with this kind of work. So, if I can't sell it cheap, if I would sell it cheap, I can give it away to people. But if I want to take myself seriously, it needs to really have quite a high price tag on it.
I'm so sorry, Christine.
Yes,
I have just looked at the time. Oh my goodness. I have just looked at the time and we have to stop talking.
Oh dear, I have to come back.
You have to come back. Hey, this is fantastic. I have taken a few pictures of your beautiful ones that were from the last Art at Plus Science that you were in. And I see that Domi, the producer's come in to say, could you please leave the studio? So I am just going to say, folks, all of those links are in the episode description there. You've been listening to the OI podcast with Dr. Barb in conversation with Christine Keller, weaver extraordinaire. If you've particularly enjoyed this episode, delve back into our back catalogue and enjoy Don't Eat the Pink Snow with local artist Pam McKinley, Weaving with Willow and Cedar Bark, and What the Ostriches Say with Jenna Lee Pfeiffer. And maybe check out that Persian Silk and Moira White, episode 92, which was also fantastic. Hey, thank you everybody. And
you've been listening to the OI podcast, the shout out for the arts, sciences and Mataranga Māori.
You can support this podcast by becoming a member of the OI. Check out the Otago Institute for Arts and Sciences on Facebook or our website.
If you'd like to listen again to this episode or others from the series, look for the OI podcast on ORFM's website, oar.org.nz.
Brought to you by the Otago Institute for Arts and Sciences, the Otago branch of the Royal Society of New Zealand.
This podcast was produced by ORFM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.